Welcome to the source. The source. Source. Hey, get the source.
We started the show on time, so there's no. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Hope you all had a nice Thursday. I sure as shit did.
Hell yeah.
What a Thursday. I mean, I only placed 3 bets and I went 3-0. So I'm not going to act like I went 7-0 or something, but it's nice 3-0 bet wise, even though it was only on 2 games, but I split my money. It took Phillies money line and Phillies minus 1.5. So that plus I got the Rays at plus 112, I think it was.
I was going to say, anytime that you win over 1.5, 2 units on a day, that's a good day. I don't care if you have 5 bets or 50 bets.
Yeah, that's definitely a good day here. Hold on, let me get my notes up and get ready. We're gonna do so. This is the plan. Instead, we're gonna do all the MLB games right now, obviously. Then me and Andy are gonna do 5 college teams. Then tomorrow we're gonna go 2 NFL teams because Scoop bailed, and we're doing the Jaguars, which is his favorite team. So we're gonna wait until he's ready to talk about the Jags. So first up, Angels Nats. Very interesting one because obviously you got Jose Soriano against the Nats, Mitchell Parker on the mound. Last night, you could have gotten the Angels at plus 100. It's not quite there anymore. It's actually closer to a pick 'em now. I think you can get minus 115, minus 105 in favor of Washington. Here's the thing. Obviously, with the current state of the Nationals bullpen, it's really hard to take the Nats in this spot. I think Mitchell Parker is going to deal, though. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. I think Mitchell Parker is going to pitch really well. Again, I can't back the Nationals because of the state of the bullpen, but I think that this line's pretty indicative of, I mean, they opened up with Jose Soriano on the mound and attacks Nats bullpen. The Nats opened up minus 120 against Jose Soriano and the Angels. So I think the odds makers agree with me that Mitchell Parker is going to pitch well against the Angels. But in the latter half of the game with the Nationals bullpen, I mean, all their main arms pitched yesterday. It's not like they threw 11 pitches. We're talking like 28 pitches, 26 pitches, 32 pitches. So the Nationals bullpen is in a situation, and I can't back the Nationals. So I guess if I had to place a bet, it would be Nats plus first 5, but not touching it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same lock and step with you. I kind of wanted to bet the Nats, but it's really hard with that bullpen. I wanted to play an under, went from 9.5 to 9 really quickly. And then obviously I started looking at the bullpens, and, you know, even with LA, Ben Joyce went last night for 19 pitches. Roansy Contreras went back-to-back nights. So, I mean, they're nothing super taxed on the LA side, but like you said, on that Washington side, it's pretty damn taxed. None of them went back-to-back days, except for the lower end guys, but they did have over like 29, 30 pitches, 35, 25 pitches, stuff like that. So a lot. I was actually looking towards an under, and then I saw like the first 5 unders, 4.5 at plus 100, and it's just not something I want to get into considering the weather. It's like 75, 80 degrees, wind slightly blowing out. Clearly the bookmakers think that there's going to be runs scored. I don't really see a whole bunch of runs, so it's just going to end up being a pass for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the weather, because that's what I thought. Like, okay, maybe I'll just take an under, first 5 under. But the weather, this is one of, and I pulled it up here. It's behind Fenway and Coors, plus 14% run index, or whatever the hell you call that. So they're expecting a lot of runs, plus 19% home runs, weather-wise, wind blowing out. So yeah, it's just a pass for me. Next up, Orioles, Rays. A lot of moving parts in this one. Because you can look at this 2 different ways. You could say, hey, Zach Eflin on the road, we could fade him, right? I mean, that's multiple years now where Zach Eflin on the road is a fade. But look where he is on the road. He's at the Trop, and if you rewind 3 weeks ago, this was home for Zach Eflin. So fading Zach Eflin on the road in the ballpark where he's been dominant in, just granted he was on the home team during those stretches, but I don't know. I just feel like the variance in this game is way too high. I do have 5 bets open today. This isn't one of them. I just feel like the variance is way too high. I think I could see Eflin throwing 6 shutout innings. I also could see Eflin getting completely crushed here. So there's way too much variance on that side. And then Zach Littell is another guy with just, I feel like, has a ton of variance. We've seen him look so good at times, and we've seen him look so bad at times. So for me, this is just a straight pass. I don't even have a lean.
I bet Baltimore. I just felt like I got him at minus 135. It's still in the minus 140 range right now. For me, I just felt like it was too cheap. I'm glad that the Rays got a victory for you and everybody else that tailed that yesterday. Obviously, that was like pretty much an easy winner after that first inning screw up or whatever it was. But again, I just feel like Baltimore is so much the better team, even though they haven't been playing as well. They have everybody rested available in their bullpen. I understand that bullpen isn't someone that you really want to go to back, but I really feel like Zach Eflin should be able to pitch well here tonight. And as far as Zach Littell goes, yes, he looks really good in two of his last 3 starts. But at the same time, I'm just not a guy that I trust on a start-to-start basis, not to mention the fact that Tampa Bay used some of their guys yesterday in the bullpen. Not that it was really bad, not that them went back-to-back nights or anything like that. But on top of all of that, Baltimore has really played well against against Tampa Bay this year. 6-1 this year. I think they're like 14-5 the last 19 times they've seen this team. So Baltimore usually finds a way to get right against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay coming home from a road trip as well, without a day off. Baltimore's in the middle of a road trip right now. So I'll take my chances with the Birds at a short price.
All right. You like the O's here. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Did the chat freeze again? They suck. I hope you're watching Restream. You guys are trash. Next up, Oakland, Toronto. CLV King is at it again. Yeah. I mean, this one was pretty simple. I know that a couple people last night told me that they thought it was a sketchy price. I didn't care. Threw a full unit down at Toronto. Got it at minus 135. So I got a full 20 cents of closing line value. I mean, that minus 155, I don't know if I'd really play it at that price, but it would still be Toronto. Like, my pick is Toronto in this one, even at minus 155. I just don't know if I'd necessarily be betting it at this price. But yeah, the last night it was minus 135 and the price was way off. Played in simple. Not that Mitch Spence has been terrible or Jose Berrios has been particularly great. It's not really what it is. It's just, we got the much better team at home. They didn't have to travel. The bats have been improved. The line was off. That Oakland nonsense is over. They've gotten blanked by 3 of the last 4 righties they've seen. And also, a lot of the Oakland damage they were doing was mostly at home. On the road, they had a 4-game series against the Angels where they looked strong. Other than that, there weren't many strong appearances from Oakland on the road. Most of that shit was at home. So, yeah, I'm comfortable here on my Toronto minus 135 with 20 cents of value.
I'm on Oakland first 5 for me. I do not trust Jose Berrios. I don't trust Toronto coming out of a 3 series back-to-back where they played Baltimore, New York, and Baltimore. This is the definition of a down spot for me in this Toronto team. Mitch Spence has actually been pretty damn good. 3 of his last 4 starts against the Angels twice, LA. The only team that really hit him hard was Philadelphia. Baltimore hit him up really well as well. But I just don't feel like Toronto has a huge advantage in the beginning of this game. I don't want anything to deal with the bullpens. I do think that sooner or later the Toronto bats will probably end up getting to Oakland sooner or later. But through the first 5, I'm just not willing to trust Jose Berrios with this price. So I played Oakland first 5 money line at plus 130.
All right. Wrong, but next game.
We'll see.
I like my bet in that one. Although at minus 155, I have less of an argument for you with the current price. All right. Houston, Boston. I like my bet in this one too, but I don't think you can get it anymore. Let me look to see if it's still available. Have you looked this morning?
I'm on over 9.5. What are you on?
First 5 over.
Oh, well, yeah, same difference. Yeah. I think your first 5 over is plus money right now, but
I got a plus 110 last night.
Oh yeah, then you're good. It's 5 on Caesars at minus 110. It's 5.5 on DraftKings at plus.
Oh no, it moved the wrong way. I had 5.5.
Oh shit.
I don't really understand how it would move down though.
I don't either.
So anyway, I'm on first 5 over 5.5. It looks like you can get a 5 now. So this line moved against me. I really don't care. I don't really know why it moved down to 5. So Tanner Houck's been pretty bad. We're talking about 3 starts in a row where he's looked awful. What does he struggle with specifically? He struggles with righty bats. We know Houston's loaded up with righty bats. So I have no reason to believe Tanner Houck's struggles don't continue here. against the Astros. I think they should get at least 2 runs off them in the first 5. And on the other side, I mean, it's Boston versus a righty. Do you need anything more than that? I know that it's Ronel Blanco, and I know he's having a great season, but it doesn't matter who you put on the mound against Boston right now, and this has been the case for 2 months. If they throw with their right arm, they're going to get hit up. And until we see something change with that, there's no reason to doubt the Red Sox lineup against a righty. And to top it all off, strong winds blowing out, extremely humid, plus 21% run index weather-wise at Fenway Park, which is actually the same as Coors Field today. So, yeah, I like my bet, even though the line moved against me. Obviously, I wish I would have waited and taken it at 5 had I had known, but I still think I'm in good shape here. I don't really know what the market's seeing betting this total down. I think this should be 4-4 after 5 innings.
Yeah, and to really quickly with that weather, even better is that you have a lot of humidity without a lot of pressure, which I know that's super geeky, but that's very, very good for runs. Anyway, Tanner Houck hasn't, I mean, Sauce said his last couple starts Tanner Houck has looked decent one time in his last 7 starts at home against Oakland, where he went 6 innings scoreless. Besides that, he's essentially going 5 innings, 5, maybe 6 innings and giving up 3 at best, usually more. So again, I was trying to figure out a way to get onto Boston team total, but it's like 4.5 heavy juice and whatnot. In the fact that I feel like Boston can put up 5, maybe 6 themselves against Blanco. I only need a little bit of work from Houston, a Houston team that really hasn't been fantastic over the last couple of weeks as far as hitting wise, but they are starting to pick it up a little bit, and they've also been much better on the road over the last over the last month than they have been at home. So yeah, I just felt that 9.5 was way too small with the weather and everything like that.
So you mean, and by the way, the reason I stuck to the first 5, and this is a thin reason, both bullpens are rested. Not that I still like the full game over as well, but I elected to go first 5 instead. So let's go next game. Padres Marlins, and who the hell is pitching in the second half of this game for both teams? I know Tosa's saying that they'll bring out Suarez for a 3rd straight day. These bullpens are taxed. They're
taxed, but the Padres bullpen will be fine. I understand that Suarez has worked back-to-back days, but he's 25 pitches. I guarantee you he's available today. Tanner Scott didn't work last night. I guarantee you he's available today. Adam Scott, maybe Jason Adam, that maybe you save him, but I don't think it's as bad. My issue is with the Padres is that I don't know what to expect from Martin Perez. I don't find it very feasible that he's going to continue to give us 6 innings, 1-run baseball. His last 2 starts, 6 innings, essentially 1-run baseball against Colorado and St. Louis. As a Padres lover, I don't trust him at all. And that's where my issue comes. Like if he gets out in the 4th or the 5th, now you're talking about a Padres bullpen where you're going to have to see guys like Carl Edwards Jr., Brian Honing, Jeremy Estrada, which again, I know that Estrada has been decent at times, but again, it's just not a guy that I trust like I trust those top 4 or 5 guys. But yeah, I really think that it's a Miami spot, to be honest with you guys. This line makes absolutely no sense. So
who's pitching the second half of the game for Miami?
I don't know, but I don't understand. Again, I'm not betting it, so it doesn't matter. But I don't understand how you can get the Padres so cheap. I mean, I understand that I'm the biggest Padres homer in the world, but this team is 8-2 their last 10. They're 15-5 their last 20. They're the best team in baseball with the best bullpen in baseball. Why are you getting them against one of the worst teams in baseball? That's such a cheap price. It doesn't make any sense.
Because they just traveled in from Pittsburgh. Their bullpen screwed. The Marlins have been at home. I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a little sketchy. I don't know, live over maybe, but the weather is wind blowing in and shit. So, pass.
I'm a Padres homer. I get that. But let's just look at the Padres, their offense. The last 10 games, 9-6, 6-8, 2-3, 10-6, 9-7. I mean, they are fucking killing the ball. I mean, so it just, again, I want nothing to do with this game, personally.
Next up, Cubs, White Sox, and I don't know what to do here. I mean, you got Crochet on the mound, but how far into the game is he? When's the last time Crochet pitched into the 5th inning? It's been like 2 months. He just doesn't pitch far into games anymore. And then not to mention the Cubs have actually gotten to the last 2 lefties they've seen. So I really don't know what to think about as far as the Cubs getting to Crochet and how deep he's going to pitch into the game. I have no bet on this one. I actually have a weird feeling the White Sox are going to win. Not betting that, not even going to put it on the screen. But that's where I wanted to bet, but not even close. This is a straight pass across the board.
I played White Sox first 5 money line. I understand that Crochet isn't going to go deep into this game, but I just felt like I was reading the lines a little bit. White Sox full game minus 125. I'm sorry, plus 125. For the first 5, they're minus 110, and it's moving. I got it at minus 105. I just don't really trust Jameson Taillon. I understand that he's looked good 2 of his last 3 starts, but on the road, he's been suspect at best. Again, Crochet isn't going to go deep into this game, but if he gives me 3 or 4 innings of 1 or 2 run baseball, like I really think that we're going to be okay here. So I want nothing to do with the White Sox deep into this game, but I think there's a reason there's a 20 or 30 cent difference between the first game and our first 5 and the full game between this. So I did take a shot with the White Sox.
All right. Did you want to copy and paste the chat over from the previous window? Yeah, go ahead and do that. Oh, never mind then. All right. Next game, please. Cleveland, Minnesota. This is a doubleheader. Reds, Brewers. Didn't even look at it because it's just weird across the board. I would love to bet the Reds at this price. I do have 3 more bets to give out coming up, but no interest in this one. I don't really know how I feel about these 2 pitchers. Don't really know about how I feel about the Brewers returning back to Milwaukee, and they just scored 16 runs. They've actually scored 34 runs in the last 3 games, but now they're back home from a road trip without a rest. I don't think it's crazy to think the bats just like go flat. So I wanted to bet the Reds, but I'm not going to.
4, 5, 6. Over 8.5 for me. This is like one of my favorite plays on the board today. Anytime 5 of the last 6 times these 2 teams have met, it's went over 9 runs. So there was my start there. And now we're getting a Reds team that is starting to hit against right-handed pitching. I know that Hicks blanked them and Littell blanked them, but they were able to scrape runs off of Hendricks, Taillon, Munoz, Max Mayer. And I understand that Savali might have a better name than those guys, but the way that he's currently pitching right now is essentially the same. So his couple home starts have been somewhat decent. But like I said, I think that this Reds team and this Reds offense is starting to kick it into gear. And I actually think that they're going to give him some trouble when they get on base because Savali doesn't hold guys very well either. And then on the Brewers side, you just talked about it. I mean, this offense is finally starting to click. They've been scoring runs over the last week or so. And Carson Spears is not a guy that I trust at all. The Brewers absolutely kill his pitch mix. I think that we're getting an 8.5 a number because Carson Spears has actually looked decent over his couple of his last starts. I think that dam's going to break today. I made this game 9.5, so to get it at 8.5 was just too many. So yeah, 8.5 over 8.5 is one of my favorite plays today.
Sounds cool. I don't hate that. Next up, Cards, Royals. I bet this one. Royals all the way for me here.
I'm going to tell you. I had it on my list. I got sketched out. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of wish I bet it a little heavier. I only put 0.75 units on it. But now that I'm looking at it, I don't know why I didn't bet a little heavier than that. This should be a full unit bet. Cardinals have kind of been bouncing around here. It's not that they've been terrible, but the bats haven't been great. They were in Chicago, then returned home. They played 3 different teams in 5 days. Now they go on the road to Kansas City, this weird rivalry game. The Royals have scored 18 runs in their last 3 games, all in this ballpark. So they've been hitting, they've been scoring at home. They lost 2 of the last 3. That's because they played Boston, and shit like that'll happen. And look, Lorenzen, if you scroll back to his last start, it was on the road, and you could find a clip of me talking shit about him. But I was referring specifically to Lorenzen on the road. Lorenzen at home's not nearly as bad. I'm not scared to back Lorenzen making a home start. And just the state of these 2 teams in Kansas City, this line is off. I think Royals should be about minus 130, minus 135. And I got it at minus 116. I thought there was at least a couple dimes of value on it. Royals that close to a pick 'em. Both these bullpens will have most of their arms available. In fact, you can make the argument the Cardinals bullpen is even a little bit more so taxed. The Royals did use their guys last night, but before that, they were super rested. So, yeah, I don't see any reason. And they actually didn't use their guys last night. They won 8-4. My bad. So yeah, Royals, I got a -116.
Yeah, I just don't. I guess I didn't understand the price, but I will tell you on this one. Miles Michaelis has been, kind of bad. There was at times where you could pick and choose, like at times that he was pitching good, but over his last 4 starts, he had that somewhat decent start, I guess, against Atlanta. But besides that, he's not a guy I trust. And Lorenzen is just one of those guys that I guess it's kind of hit or miss with him. It's kind of one of those things where he rather pitches well or he doesn't. But as far as later in the second half of this game, I still feel like Kansas City has a huge advantage with everybody rested in their bullpen. And not to mention the fact that Kansas City is 7-3 their last 10. They have their last 3 losses. 2 of them were to Boston. 1 of them was Detroit. They scored 15 runs in those 3 games. So really and 2 of those games they lost 5-6. So really, as long as their pitching doesn't completely let them down, the Royals are winning ball games right now. And I don't think that the Royals pitching is going to completely let them down here tonight. So yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I'm literally about to do it right now.
Royals up. Braves, Rockies in Coors. A lot of people in the Discord like the Rockies in this one. Tanner Gordon is getting the start. You got the Braves just flying into Coors. The Rockies just finished up a series against the Mets. They've been there. That's usually a spot you like to play the Rockies at home, where the Rockies are just much better than you think. They have a 25-31 at home, which is definitely in the positive ROI wise. Here's the problem. Just play back-to-back home games against, not the strongest of starting pitchers. Who did they see? Severino. They saw, who else did they see on the Mets? Peterson, I think it was. They scored 4 runs combined in the last 2 games. So I'm a little worried about that. And obviously a guy named Tanner Gordon pitching to the Braves. But the truth is the Braves just continue to lose baseball games. So I guess it would be Rockies or pass. Someone in the Discord said they liked Braves team total under 6.5, and I thought that was interesting also. But Rockies or pass. Not betting this.
The Braves team total is 6.5.
That's what someone said last night. But the total was also 11 last night. So maybe
it's 5.5 now.
It's 5.5.
I'm on the Rockies money line for me. This is one of the plays that I already knew I was going to play yesterday. We have the Rockies, who already played a series in Colorado, sitting there waiting, playing a team that has to travel across the country without a day off, coming into Colorado. It's kind of like a system play for me. So regardless of who starts, it doesn't really matter. Tanner Gordon, hit or miss. He looked decent his last time out against the Padres. It doesn't really matter for me. This Braves team is absolutely terrible. I think they're 4-6 their last 10. They're 8-12 their last 20. They're 13-17 their last 30. Like I always say, they haven't been playing good in months, guys. There's no reason to lay a big price with them traveling across the country, facing a team in the Rockies who have played much better at home. I understand their offense hasn't been great, but they also just played the Padres as well, which obviously has a very good pitching staff. So I would have liked to see some more runs against the Mets, but as far as spot goes and getting the Rockies at a +140 price, there's no way I can pass it up today.
Next. Philly. Toast will be in attendance for this game. Shout out to the Phillies last night. Had the Phillies money line. Phillies -1.5. Came in clutch for me. Phillies last night. That being said, I got crazy closing line value on this one. I'm holding an Arizona money line ticket at +140. +140. It's at +115 now. So crazy closing line value. And this is one of those that I hate, because it's like people are tuning in because they want to place bets now. So what is me telling them that I like Arizona at +140? How does that give them information? It's like sweet. What should I do? So I do think Arizona has a very good chance to win this game. So at plus money, I think it's worth a shot. Obviously, I like it a lot better at the +140 that I got. But my thoughts were that this line was just off. You can make an argument that in the last month, Arizona's been the better team here. They've been the better team. They're at home in Arizona. Look, Zach Wheeler, not going to sit here and pick him apart, but if there is one spot where Zach Wheeler is vulnerable, It's lefty bats. Lefties have been able to get to Zach Wheeler. He's absolutely untouchable against righties, but Arizona's got 6 lefties in the lineup, including the first 3 hitters of their lineup, all lefties. So on the road in this ballpark against a bunch of lefties, a lineup that, if it wasn't for the Red Sox, I'd probably say is the best in baseball against right-handed pitching. I would put Arizona right below Boston there as far as consistently getting to righty starters. So I don't have a ton of faith in Zach Wheeler going into this ballpark and throwing a gem. Look, I'm not going to say Zach Wheeler's going to get smoked, but I think we can count on Arizona to get 2 or 3 off him, and that's going to be enough. Because in the late innings of this game, who's going to be pitching for the Phillies? I mean, yeah, they could probably use Hoffman, but he's used up. They used their main arms yesterday, so bullpen advantage definitely goes to Philly. See, the reason I played the Phillies yesterday, part of the reason was the Arizona bullpen is completely screwed. Well, now, after last night, they got to rest all their guys, and the Phillies used all their guys. So now the bullpen advantage flips back towards the other side. And I know Arizona's bullpen has been shit, but you know what? The Phillies bullpen hasn't been very good either. So with the less taxed bullpen at home, get a great number. By the way, Ryan Nelson, I know everyone's scared to back Ryan Nelson in this ballpark, and with good reason. He's been really bad here over the last 2 years, but look at his last couple starts. He's thrown back-to-back good games here. So all you need Ryan Nelson to do is be decent. That's it.
Over 8.5 for me. I agree with Kyle a lot that especially with Zach Wheeler against a whole bunch of lefties. Arizona actually sat some guys last night. So actually you're going to see 7 lefty bats from the Arizona. Marte, Carroll, Peterson, Thomas, Herrera, Perdomo, Bell, all going to bat from the left-hand side of the plate. So 7 lefties. That's I would assume they're probably going to get some runs, a couple off of Zach Wheeler. And then as Kyle has just talked about, Arizona's offense has been absolutely amazing over the last month as well. And that Philly bullpen, like I said, I've been with them the last 4 days. They are taxed to oblivion. They're so tired, and I know this is kind of like you can't handicap this, but they are so tired that last night Estevez didn't even start warming up, because they were afraid that if Alvarado blew that game, that they weren't gonna pitch him, because that's how much they've been pitching. Like, he wasn't even up and ready to go until Alvarado got out of that. And if he wouldn't have got out of that, I don't think he would have went. So I really don't think you see Estevez here tonight. I really don't think you see Alvarado, and I really don't think you see Kirkring here tonight. And if that's the case, then the Phillies are going to be very, very weak. That being said, though, Ryan Nelson at home, even though he had a decent start against Washington, Toronto, Minnesota absolutely clobbered him. We can go back going forth, Ryan Nelson at home. So I also don't think it's crazy that Philadelphia, who started to find their bats over the last 6 games or so, scoring 5 runs or more in 5 of their last 6, or maybe it's even 6 runs or more in 5 of their last 6, that I think that they score some runs too. So I figure the best way to do it is play over 8.5 for me. But there's no way I would play the Phillies on the side.
Yeah, cool. All right, next game. The line moved against me in this one, and I really don't understand it.
What'd you
so play? I got the under at 8, but you can actually get a juiced 8.5 now. Where are these runs coming from here? I don't really understand how the market's betting this number up. So Quintana's been really good. Seattle's lineup has been, oh my God, that Detroit series was embarrassing.
I don't even understand. I guess I don't understand why the line why the Mets keep on getting like juiced up. Like, I don't understand that.
Well, I mean, I do. After that series against the Tigers, the Mariners look so bad. Oh, it's moving towards Seattle.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The Mets plus 115 now. Like, the Mets.
I don't like the Mets. I don't like the Mets, though. I don't think the Mets are going to score runs. I think Bryce Miller is going to throw a gem. I don't like the Mets coming out of Coors Field, no day off, immediately flying into Seattle, a tough ballpark to score runs against Bryce Miller, who's been really good at home this year. Bryce Miller's also got really nice looking numbers against righty bats. The Mets are loaded up with righties. So I think this is a nightmare for the Mets offensively. As far as the spot, maybe tomorrow, once the Mets are settled out of Coors Field, I'd be down to back the Mets to get to one of those Seattle aces, whoever it is tomorrow, whether it's Gilbert or it's not going to be Kirby. Who's it, Gilbert tomorrow? Yeah, it's Gilbert tomorrow. I'm down to back the Mets to get to Gilbert tomorrow, but I think they're really going to struggle here against Bryce Miller. And on the other side, look, Quintana, I'm not by no means, I'm like, Quintana's a bet on pitcher, but he's been solid, man. He's been solid on the road. Seattle's bats looked absolutely dead in that Detroit series. So if Quintana could give me 5 2/3, 3 earned runs, which he's more than capable of doing, in fact, I think he might even pitch better than that, then this should hit. I think both of these bullpens are in pretty good shape too. So yeah, it's under for me. I took it at 8, but like I said, the market is moving against me. I think you can get an 8.5 right now if you look. So yeah, you can get an 8.5 at -118 on DraftKings right now. So the market moved against me, but I'm on the under.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what to think about this game. I'm just at a point where I guess you can. I understand the hesitancy with the Mets side, but I also don't understand how. And I know that you're not, but I don't understand how anybody could lay this juice with Seattle and feel confident after what we've just saw them against Detroit. Again, the bats were working against Philly, but at the same time, this is just not a team I trust. 5-5 their last 10, 8-12 their last 20, 13-7 or 13-17 their last 20. And Bryce Miller has had back-to-back subpar starts after really, really good starts. I guess I don't really know what to think of him because I honestly feel like the Mets could possibly hit him up. I understand that he has better numbers against righty bats, but and the lefties he struggles against. But the lefties in Lindor, Nimmo, Winker, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really feel like Seattle should be laying this type of a price. It'd be Mets or pass for me. I didn't bet it, but the Mets didn't use anybody in their bullpen yesterday that matters. So you're still going to have Diaz, Maton, Buto. Yeah, it's Mets or pass for me. I don't know what to think about this one.
Yeah, I mean, at +114, it's hard for me to argue against the Mets bet either.
It's just, yeah.
And also, we've seen the grimace bats defy the quote-unquote spot so many times this year where it's like the Mets should cool down and they score 11. So, all right, Pittsburgh Dodgers, and I didn't bet this one just because there's some weird shit that goes on in Pirates Dodgers series, and this dates back to 2022 when the Pirates were shit, and somehow they took, I believe it was 8 out of 9 games against the Dodgers in a season.
Remember that? And it started. I don't know if you remember, but remember the Dodgers hit a home run and he missed first base, and that's what started it all.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm telling you, I'm not like a superstitious person, but there's some weird shit that goes on in these series. Pirates Dodgers never pans out the way you think it's going to. Mitch Keller against Jack Flaherty, it's interesting at +170. Of course, I want to take the Pirates. So you can put up Pirates money line for me. Why would you stick to the first 5 though? Because the Dodgers bullpen has been shit.
Yeah, but look at the Pirates bullpen. Pull it up for everybody to take a look, and you'll see why I went first 5. Because as bad as the Padres or bad as the Dodgers has been, who is pitching for Pittsburgh in the second half of this game? That's my question.
Is it that bad? I didn't bet this game, so I didn't even look. To
Pittsburgh first 5 money line. Pittsburgh first 5 team total over 1.5 and +110. Mitch Keller has been pitching fantastic over his last 5 starts. Last year he had a really bad start in LA. I really think that he pitches well here. Just 2 years ago he pitched just fine in LA. I understand they didn't have Ohtani then, but they still had a loaded roster. And Kyle talked about it. For whatever reason, Pittsburgh just seems to get up when they play the Dodgers. Over the last couple of years, Pittsburgh is 2-1 against the Dodgers this year. Last year they split it, I think. Maybe the Dodgers won 4 out of 3, but all those games were close. Jack Flaherty looked decent in his first start with the Dodgers in Oakland, but if you watch that game, he didn't look as sharp as it makes it look. I understand he didn't give up a run, but he had the bases loaded once. There was 2 on with 1 out a couple times. He really saved himself with some strikeouts here, strikeouts against Oakland. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I understand that Pittsburgh hasn't looked great, but you know what? They've also been scoring the last 4 of the last 5 games. Unfortunately, they played the Padres, who, again, just one of the hottest teams in baseball. It is what it is when you play the Padres right now in the second half. But they're still scoring runs. They're just losing because the Padres are a better team. So I understand flying across the country isn't a great spot without a day off. But for whatever reason, this team just seems to get up against the Dodgers. The Dodgers didn't impress me the couple games that I saw them in LA. I played the Pirates, and I'm pretty confident in it. I really like it.
Yeah, and also Jack Flaherty's having a great season, but let's not forget he comes from St. Louis. He's got a history against this team. There's a lot of weird shit going on in this.
Yep.
So Pirates are pass, but definitely a pass. Next up. It's Tigers Giants. Do we even know who's pitching? Excuse me. Is it Herder?
I think it's going to be an opener regardless. Yeah. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be an opener. Because I played Detroit money line, so I don't really, to be honest, I don't really care.
Why? Wait, why?
Why? Look at the Giants bullpen. Just absolutely shot. And I don't really trust Robbie Ray to go more than 5 innings max. And Robbie Ray's been pretty damn I mean, look at his start in LA against the Dodgers. I mean, they should have scored multiple runs against him. He finally settled down after that first one. He got hit up by Oakland in his home start. Then he goes back on the road in Cincinnati. He gives up 2. He definitely could have given up more. I just think the Robbie Ray dam's going to break, and he has nobody behind him to help him. And the Tigers have won 3 of their last 5. They're playing decent right now. Everybody in the Tigers bullpen is rested and ready to go that I would need, unless I completely missed something. Let me double check. Yeah, everybody's
total. Why is this total 7.5?
And that's my last point. And the total's at 7.5. So the bookmakers are telling us it's going to be a close game. So if I feel like I have a bullpen advantage in a close game, you goddamn right, I'm going to take the Tigers at a huge plus price. So Tigers money line at plus 170. Tigers first 5 team total over 1.5 at plus 105.
I mean, I guess I would lean Tigers. Looking at the Giants bullpen, it is crazy looking. I didn't even look at it because I skipped right over this game without knowing who's pitching for Detroit. It put up over for me, Prop Beaver.
Yeah, that's a touche.
The Giants bullpen has nobody. And Toast is also right about the Pirates bullpen. I looked at that. It's a disaster. I don't know who's pitching in that game. Hunter Stratton, but he's pitched 2 of the last 3 too. Wow.
I know, like what?
In fact, maybe Mitch Keller over outs because they're going to need him to throw 7.
That's actually a good one because you talked about, Hunter Stratton had the day off yesterday, but he's still at 40 pitches the last 3 days. Dennis Santana, another middle reliever, at 24 in the last 3 days. So yeah, there's just nobody in that Pirates bullpen. They need Mitch Keller to go like 6-7 strong.
All right, let's do a community
parlay. The parlay we bet, yeah. Community parlay is for the community. We come unite, making a parlay. Yeah.
All right. Ready? First up, Angels money line. Then Orioles money line. Then Blue Jays money line. Then Red Sox money line. Cast your votes.
Community parlay. Oh, the Braves lost yesterday, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Orioles first. All right, ready for the next bowl? Padres money line. Cubs money line. Brewers money line. And Royals money line. All right, what's the second leg of this parlay? Then we'll get into some college football. No. I can't tell you. I can see you guys typing in the options now. That's because of today, the restream comment. That's not usually there. That's because the restream keeps crashing and forcing us to put that up there. It's not. It doesn't usually look like that. All right, next poll. Braves money line. No, actually, the Rockies. The Rockies won that poll. Phillies money line. Mets money line. And Dodgers money line.
Yo, I like how the names of the teams in the left gets bigger, so you can like see them. I like that.
That's actually an accident, but it doesn't. It kind of does work.
I'm like thinking you did it.
That was not intentional at all. That's because Andy doesn't know how to use keyframes in After Effects.
Andy,
he can't hear you.
oh. It looks great, Andy, now that you can hear me. I was being serious, too.
I know. The last one is Giants money line, so throw some second places in there with it. Week 0 is almost here. I actually put my first college football ATS week 1 bet down yesterday. So by the way, on the website, for those of you that have been subscribed to KyleKirms.com before and that are in the Discord and all that, so we're switching it up, and this should be in place. This is actually important. Hold on. So for those of you that know, how it's been for the longest time is it's set up like a blog, and whenever one of us posts bets, we post like a blog post, and you click on the blog post and read the bets. The problem is now with football starting off, I'm not doing the Saturday morning I'll post the bets anymore, because my idea behind that was, hey, people want to place their bets Saturday morning, so I'll give them picks with lines that are there. But obviously that's not the most effective way to make money. And now that we have a lot of experienced gamblers in the group, we're going to start placing bets earlier in the week, just because now I feel like we have a more experienced group. So it's going to be when you click on open bets, and you actually can see it now. If you go to the homepage and click on football open bets, it's just going to be a list of all the bets anybody with our network has open in order of the date of game. So if I post a bet on Monday for Saturday, that following weekend, if you check on Thursday, it'll still be there right on the list in order, rather than having to scroll back and look through a bunch of posts. I hope the way I explained it makes sense. Just if you're on the site, just if you're subscribed to the site, you can just go check it out now and click on open football bets right on the homepage, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Within the next week, it'll all be transformed to that.
Yeah, I mean, and if you, like, for instance, like if you get my plays, you'll see I post a part 1 and a part 2. This alleviates having to go click 3 different spots to go back, get to the part 2, now click that, all that. You're just going to see everything that I have bet all in one spot. It'll make it so much easier.
The community parlay, by the way, is Orioles, Padres, Rockies, Royals plus 1249 community.
Holy cow. I also saw a couple people comment saying that they're going to be at the game tonight. I'll be right by the Phillies dugout. You'll see me wear my Phillies hat, my Bryce Harper shirt. Can't miss me. Come down and say hi. I'll buy you a beer.
You're inviting to get your skin peeled off by some of these freaks out there, Toast. I'm just joking. I'm sure you're all nice people. Next up, college football.
Have a good day, guys.
Let's talk Georgia Southern.
I love you see the face it froze on for Toast?
Yeah, it froze on. That's funny.
Should have clipped that and had that whenever he's not here. Oh, there I am.
All right. Oh, Andy's on the screen. Zoom Andy. Oh, actually, he's zoomed in enough.
Yeah, I moved up.
We need to fix the thing behind him so he's not so blurry. We'll do that for Monday. All right. First up, Georgia Southern. So yeah, Clay Helton back for his 3rd season, back-to-back 6-6 years, back-to-back bowl losses. Their OC is gone. Brian Ellis, he joins the Bohr staff over at Alabama. Ryan Applin takes over at OC, but he's not new. He's not a new hire. He's been with the program for a few years now. So pretty much same coaching staff back. They're 88th in returning production, 13 returning starters, just 5 on offense. And I think that's important because the offense was the only thing that worked last year. Their defense was terrible, and Andy will be the first to tell you that's the case with every single one of Clay Helton's teams, although I cut him some slack about his time in USC because they never have a defense, regardless of who's coach. But so they lost. Their offense got hit hard. But here's the thing. I don't really hate the new look of the offense. So Davis Brin, quarterback, is gone. He did throw for over 3,700 yards last year, but he also threw 19 interceptions. 19. So he was prone to turn the ball over. He threw 24 touchdowns, but 19 interceptions. I asked you before, you think Dexter Williams from Indiana is an upgrade from Davis Brin?
Yeah, I think interception. Well, I mean, you look at 19 interceptions, is a ridiculous number. I think just keep taking care of the ball. That'll be better. We haven't seen much of Dexter Williams, but he was pretty highly recruited, and they're very high on him coming out. He can also run the ball. That's a plus. They didn't really have that from the quarterback, so that's an upgrade there.
Oh yeah, we don't need headphones anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I don't know much about Dexter Williams. I'm not going to pretend to. Andy thinks it's an upgrade, and I don't disagree. Here's the problem, and I shouldn't say problem. Here's what concerns me. Last year, Georgia Southern was 4th in the FBS in passing frequency, meaning they threw the shit out of the ball. Only 3 teams in college football out of all 134 FBS teams, only 3 passed the ball more frequently than Georgia Southern. This was a pass-first offense to the maximum, almost one of the heaviest pass-first offenses in the FBS. Now, the reason I'm concerned is Dexter Williams is more of an athlete. I'm not saying he can't throw it. I mean, we really haven't seen him get the opportunity to throw it.
Yeah.
But based on the limited action we've seen from him, he uses his legs a lot. He's a scrambler. And the way that this team is built this year is this coaching staff with Clay Helton and Ryan Applin, the new OC, are they capable of managing this offense run first? Because if you look at the pieces they got back, so check this out. So I just said this is a pass-heavy offense to the maximum. They lost their quarterback and brought in a quarterback that's more of a scrambler. They bring back all 3 running backs, or both. They bring back their top 2 running backs, so top 2 rushers. Their offensive line, all 3 interior pieces are back, 2 guards and a center, but they lost both tackles. So tell me that this team isn't built to run the ball this year the way they are now. So the question is, okay, on paper, I think they brought about enough pieces back to be a good offense. The question is, can they still have success running the ball instead of throwing it as frequently?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a tough thing to answer until you see the quarterback play. I mean, unless they're planning on wholesale changing their style, then yeah, I do think if they're going to play the exact style they played last year, this offense won't be very good. So my assumption is with the change in quarterback means they're going to change the way they play. Like you said with Helton, he's had great offenses pretty much everywhere. When he was at USC, offense was never the problem. So I'm going to trust that he's going to do enough. I mean, if you look at their offensive stats last year, I mean, they weren't really good in any yardage categories. They were 87th in yards per carry, 81st in yards per attempt passing. Their success rates were really good, but other than like the yards weren't there. So, I mean, how good really was this offense? So, unless they're changing their whole system, they're not going to take exactly a leap on offense here.
Yeah, I agree. And I like what you said about Clay Helton. I mean, you take 10 proven offensive minds in college football, like you might mention his name. Like he's shown us that you give him a deck of cards, like whatever hand you deal him, he will return 500 yards a game. He can manage an offense. But now we get to the weakness of the Georgia Southern team. The defense last year, it was terrible. If you don't watch Sunbelt, if you don't watch Georgia Southern Sunbelt football, Georgia Southern's games were pretty high scoring. Not a lot of defense being played. Here's the thing: they did bring some people back. The entire defensive line is back now. When a situation like this, you have to ask. I mean, the defensive line wasn't good. Like, it's back. But like, okay.
It's the case of returning guys that weren't productive.
Yeah, like, okay, like the entire defensive line is back. Sweet. But I mean, obviously you bring back the entire defensive line that could only improve from last year. I mean, I doubt 19, 20-year-old kids get worse with an extra year of experience. It's very rare. So that's got to be a good thing. They did lose a couple linebackers, but they still return a few. From what I'm reading, linebacking core should be about the same. And they lost a couple DBs, but they added 2 starting defensive backs from Kennesaw State that were starters. So, I mean, the secondary might even take a step forward. So based on the returning the entire defensive line, look, this defense was terrible. I think we could say small step forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think at most it's a small step forward. But yeah, I think adding the secondary pieces is big because, I mean, this team, granted, teams ran on them a lot more frequently. They were still thrown on pretty damn well. I mean, their pass defense was worse statistically, even though it saw less action. So my guess is that it'll be better to a little bit with adding those guys. Again, that's Kennesaw State. That was a team that was playing FCS football last year. So when you add guys from an FCS team, we'll see if they're really good. But you brought it up before. I'm as much as I trust Clay Helton's offensive ability, I don't trust him defensively. The year he got fired at USC, they were 97th in scoring defense. And I get it, USC doesn't usually have good defenses, but he had an opportunity to build it, and every single year their defense just let them down. The reason that this guy was fired from USC was because of his defense, so he's never gotten the right players to play defense for him. So I have a very hard time believing that he will.
Now we get to the good news for Georgia Southern, the schedule. It really isn't bad. So I mean, you're going to be 2-1. You're going to lose to Boise.
Yeah.
But they should, if they lose to Nevada, hit the panic mode. They're not going to lose to Nevada.
I think they'll go into Nevada. And
they have to. If they lose that game, I mean, Nevada's terrible.
Yeah.
They'll beat South Carolina State, obviously, lose to Ole Miss, and then at Georgia State's winnable. That team's a mess too.
Definitely winnable.
So I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say they could be 3-2 after 5 games, and then they could even beat Marshall.
Yeah, I think that's the point where it starts to get ugly for me after that.
At Old Dominion might be tough. I know a lot of people aren't big on Old Dominion, but I don't think they're going to be bad. I think the run defense is going to be good, which is huge because we just talked about how we think Georgia Southern's going to have to be much more reliant on the run this year. And the thing with Old Dominion is they bring back a ton of experience in the front seven, and they brought in some pieces in the portal. Old Dominion should be strong against the run. So going on the road in Old Dominion, I'd probably say that might be a loss. At South Alabama is winnable. I'm not big on South Alabama this year.
Yeah, we didn't really like their offense too much.
That puts them at 5. So do they win? Do they beat Troy or Coastal? Because they're losing to App State.
I don't think they beat either of those teams. That's why I have them at 5.
So basically, the way we broke it down is if you have them beating Troy on November 16th, put them at 6.
Yeah, but I don't. And I'm clearly very high on Coastal. So. Also, I know Nevada's not good, and we're going to talk about them today. That's not a game that's probably, I'd assume their first home game, Nevada. So I'm going to go, that's their first game at home. So that's a tough game for them to play.
I don't think they're going to beat. No, they play
on the road in Nevada. Actually, you know what? Nevada does play.
They play SMU.
Week 0.
Yeah, they play week 0. So
week 0.
It's not their first home game because they play in week 0. So yeah, I'll say under. But I think I'm not betting this one because I could see them beating Troy and getting to the 6th win. And I guess you could say Nevada is a toss-up, but I don't even know. I think I'd pick Georgia Southern in that game. Nevada's a mess. And I'm pretty sure that's a decent segue because aren't we about to talk about Nevada right now?
We got Hawaii first.
Oh, Hawaii's first? Okay. So let's switch it over to Hawaii. And I accidentally deleted my notes on Hawaii, but I remember them. So I'll let you take the lead. But Timmy Chang back for his 3rd season. They bring back the quarterback, and the question I have with Hawaii, and this is probably a stupid question, but it's something to think about at the very least. If your quarterback enters the transfer portal, doesn't get the offers he wants, and then comes back, does that hurt team morale? And I know that's some stupid shit to even talk about, but I feel like if I'm on the team, if I'm like the left guard, and my quarterback, the guy I'm assigned to protect, is like, fuck this, I'm out, enters the portal and then just like comes back with his tail between his legs, I feel like I'm like, fuck this guy. That's probably stupid.
Maybe I don't know about that. I think I was surprised when he entered the portal because I think he fits this team very well. We're going to talk about they're a team that only throws the football. But there are some things that are going on at that program that kind of probably nudged him into looking elsewhere because they're a football team that's they're not getting much media attention. They're not a very good first of all, they're not a great program overall. They're not even playing in their football stadium. They're playing at a local place that like a complex that they weren't supposed to be playing in. So like this isn't like Hawaii's a big place to play. So I understood why he was looking elsewhere. NIL being what it was, he probably thought he could get a Power 4 job. Clearly he couldn't. But yeah, I don't know if that maybe that could be the case where guys are like, hey, you didn't want to be here. But week 1, when they're winning by 65 points, I think those guys will be like, all right, you know what? It's smart. It's a good thing you stayed.
That's right. You said you're going to lay 30 points with them.
38.5. And I'm
at Delaware State.
Yeah. And that line went from 25.5 to 38.5. So I'm still not sure, but it is. Yeah, they're going to win week 1 by a lot of points. I know that.
All right. So Braden Shager's back. What about the rest of the offense?
Like you said, number one thing, or like I mentioned, number one thing, this team throws the ball, pretty much only throws the ball. They're number 1 in pass frequency. So what we just said with Gas, so they were top 4. This is the team that's number 1. So that's why Schrager coming back is so huge for this team. He's pretty much everything. Other than that, top 7 receiver staying was huge for me. Obviously, pretty much anybody who caught the ball last year. The offense overall is staying pretty well. They had a good pass block grade, which is all that really matters for them. They weren't really good blocking the run, but they don't run much. So that's probably why those numbers were that way. Very deep O-line is the way they said it. They got 11 guys that have played college football before, but I think 6 or 7 of them have played like significant time. So this offense should be smooth. I don't see any holes in this offense. Doing what they want to do, right? Who cares about their running? They're not trying to run. In terms of being a passing attack, this is the team. This is a really good passing attack. Set up perfectly. They should be able to block for them. So, yeah, I think this is a really good unit.
All right. And did you want to talk about the defense?
Oh, yeah, no, defense is not a very good unit. Defense, like usual, Hawaii, this is the Mountain West. You're going to see, I think it's going to be a trend beyond this weekend when we go through these teams is this team, much like everybody else in the Mountain West, they don't play defense. They're going to get thrown on a lot. They were a little bit better in their run defense last year, but again, in the Mountain West, it doesn't really mean that much because teams are trying to throw on you. So their games are going to be pretty high scoring. There's going to be a lot of possessions in their games because their passing attacks are going to be facing. But yeah, this is a team that high scoring games that I don't expect to come away with many wins this year.
All right. So the schedule, and this is where it's a little interesting for Hawaii because they have 5 cake games on their schedule.
Well, they weren't. Yeah, that game 1 was not supposed to be
Oregon, right?
Supposed to be Oregon at home, and it wound up being Delaware State.
So I mean, they're 3-1.
Yeah, they should be 3-1. I think they can go on there. Actually,
they're not losing to Sam Houston, bro.
No. I think they can beat Sam Houston.
They'll beat Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa, I think, will be like surprisingly tough because aren't they like a really
that'll
good...
be a close line.
No, they lost their coach though because he's
but they're still gonna be pretty good.
Yeah,
we're seeing games where like FCS guys are
but they're gonna win.
Yeah.
So let's say 3-1. Then they have a tough stretch there.
Yeah,
they'll lose 1, 2, 3 in a row. But then you got Nevada, you got Utah State, you got New Mexico.
Those 3, if they can come away with all 3 of those, then I think
I think they'll definitely take Nevada. That's 4.
Of those 3 teams you just said, Utah State will be the toughest, but I still don't think Utah State's gonna be very good.
UNLV should dog them out, right? Even at home.
Yeah, UNLV and Fresno will beat them up pretty good.
Yeah, and then the thing is, in order to hit 6, in my opinion, they need to take both those late November games, and I think they'll
against
lose.
Utah State and New Mexico. Yeah,
and I think they'll drop one of them. I don't know why.
So you're on there.
Apparently, odds makers aren't big on New Mexico. I was just looking at them. We're about to talk about them. I don't think they're that bad.
I didn't see I think they're going to be really bad. I didn't see what everybody else. I mean, week 1 we're going to talk about, but
so under. I have them at 5. So let's say under.
Yeah, I'm going to go under 2. I'll side over. Under. Yeah, if by grace of God they're able to pull up an upset in that 3-game stretch against San Diego State, Boise State, and Washington State, maybe. But that's really the only spot where I think they can come away with something.
All right, let's move on to the next team, please. I like this. Trevor Vandenbosch in the comments said, if you don't watch Hawaii at midnight after 13 hours of football on a Saturday, you're not a true DJ. And yeah, you don't belong here. Get these casuals out of there, man. Of course we care about the Mountain West. Next up. Who's next on the screen? Nevada. Okay. I have my notes on Nevada. All right. Oh no, Nevada's the other team I lost. I have my notes on Georgia Southern, New Mexico, and Air Force. So the coach got fired after back-to-back 2-10 years, though. I know that.
Yeah, they're in a rebuild mode.
So Nevada, Brock Purdy's brother, competing for the quarterback job. And if you don't know who Brock Purdy's brother is, his name is Chubba Purdy. So he transfers in, and this is the current state of Chubba Purdy's college career. He transfers into Nevada to battle the quarterback job. Now, the person that he's battling with for the job played last year. He had 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's who he's battling with. They bring their quarterback back, possibly, who might even lose the job. It's bad either way. This is a bad football team last year. I don't see any reason. I will say that the coaching staff they brought in is experienced, and I believe the guy they brought in was the head coach at BYU for 5 years, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So they bring in an experienced head coach, they bring in an experienced offensive coordinator, and even the DC they brought in is pretty experienced as well. In fact, I think they all coach together on BYU, right?
Yes, this is a complete basic. Basically, they're good in this region. They were better in high. I guess they were in this conference, right? BYU, or were they independent at that time? But yeah, this is an experienced coaching staff. I think the offense, just because of how bad it was last year, by default in this system will slightly uptick, which isn't saying much because it was really bad last year. But like you said with the other side, the defense is still going to be awful. They've got some transfers that are mixing in, so maybe those guys will improve in the system. But overall this team is not good, and they're toward the bottom of the Mountain West, which is really
not
bad
towards the bottom. They are the bottom.
I think New Mexico might be the bottom.
No, I don't mind. All right, well, let's do the schedule. I don't want to talk about Nevada anymore. Do you want to?
No, they're the awful football team.
All right, let's pull the schedule up for them because this team sucks. SMU's, that's a loss. At Troy's probably a loss. Home against Georgia Southern, probably a loss. At Minnesota, loss. I'll give them Eastern Washington.
Yeah,
I'm willing to spot them that one. At host San Jose, actually San Jose State.
No, San Jose State's a loss.
Even without
the coach and staff. I like San Jose State.
Yeah. I haven't looked at San Jose State yet. That's tomorrow. So that probably a loss according to Andy, who has looked.
Their winnable games here are Eastern Washington, and maybe they can pull the upset against Air Force. But other than that, I've got them at 2 wins.
Wow.
It's juiced.
Yeah, under. Where's the third win?
There isn't.
Well, maybe Colorado State at home?
No.
Not with Fowler Nicolosi back at quarterback. Colorado State should beat them.
This defense is going to be.
How's Fresno look? Good, right?
Yeah, every single. Mikey Keene is back there too. Every single transfer.
So that means they'd have to steal the Georgia Southern game, I guess. That would be their third.
Or Troy, but I don't think they're stealing Troy.
Nah, put it under. Next. Next up is Air Force. Okay. So Air Force was an interesting one. For about 9 weeks, Air Force looked like a force, pun intended there. They looked so good, and then this team just hit a wall for the last few games of the season, and this is coming from somebody who bet them in 2 of those last 3 games and watched them frustrate. I'd also bet they're under, and the defense couldn't make it. Whatever, unimportant. So now we're looking at Air Force. Troy Calhoun's back for his 18th season as head coach. Same coordinating staff is back underneath him. Here's the problem with Air Force: 134th in returning production. So this team lost a lot from last year. Yeah, well, I mean, I think is that dead last?
That's dead last. We have all 134 teams.
So I'm saying, are those rankings only amongst FBS, right? They don't have FCS teams mixed in there.
Oh no, that's all FBS.
So dead last in returning production. Just 6 returning starters on the whole team, 2 on offense. So yeah, this team got gutted. They lost 3 quarterbacks. The only quarterback on the roster that has any experience at all is named John Busha, and I believe he has 3 career pass attempts, which for Air Force is like a lot. No, I'm just joking. The quarterback has 3 career pass attempts. They also lost their top 2 backs from last year. They lost their top 3 tight ends too. They did bring back their leading receiver. He had 12 catches last year, the leading receiver. So they brought back their leading receiver, but it's Air Force. Who cares about the leading receiver? They lost both backs and their top 3 tight ends. So that's a problem. And it gets even worse than that. Air Force had 7 offensive linemen that started a game for them last year. 7. They lost all 7. All 7 are gone. So the current Air Force offensive line this year, none of them started a single game last year. So we're talking about 3 tight ends gone, both running backs gone, all 7 offensive linemen gone. This offense is gutted to the maximum. And then you look at the other side, they only bring back 1 starter on the defensive line. So they lose most of their defensive line. I think in the linebackers and secondary, there is a few pieces coming back. But as far as the interior of this team, this is obviously an Air Force team that likes to run the ball more so than any other team in the FBS. Their run game got gutted. Offensive line gone, tight ends gone, running backs gone, and then their defensive line gutted as well. So I don't see any reason. Yeah, okay, they bring back an experienced coaching staff, a guy who's been there forever, but how is Air Force going to be any good?
Yeah, I was dumbfounded when I saw that Phil Steele puts his teams in order by ranking of who it is, like of where he thinks they're going to finish in the conference, or like a preseason projection type thing. And he had them second. And I think that's a little bit of blind faith, because I looked at other websites too, and they have them up there top 1 to 4. Like even that seems like a stretch to me. Like it seems like they have blind faith in that this guy's been here for so long that this system's just going to work no matter who you put into it. And the quarterback's going to be him. It's going to be Bush, I believe is how you say it. He was as long as he's able to run, I think he fits in the system. But like you said, how are you replacing every single O-lineman? How are you replacing your quarterback who did get hurt last year, which is why they fell off after they started 9-0. I think he got hurt in the game where they lost, and then everything went to crap. But I mean, how do you replace this much offensively and defensively and then still come out of this and be exactly the same? Because I think they finished second or third last year, especially in a conference where I think there's a couple of teams like Fresno, UNLV, a couple of teams like that who have improved. I mean, this team's much worse than they were last year. So I thought reading into this team, there really wasn't much other than I think that every single insider, every single person that watches college football just has blind faith in Calhoun.
So they have their win total at 7. And then before you go hammer the under, they obviously they play Army, they play Navy, both of which
very winnable games as long as they're healthy. But
very winnable games. Yes, very winnable games. At Wyoming's a loss, at Baylor's a loss, San Jose State loss, right?
Yeah.
You just said you like them.
Yeah.
So we'll give them Merrimack, we'll give them Navy. At New Mexico.
They get New Mexico. I'll give them New Mexico.
You're going to give them that one?
Yeah.
All right.
Home game. See.
Colorado State beats them.
Yeah. They lose to Colorado State. I think they can beat Army. I think Army's going to be
So
awful.
that's 4. We're giving them Army. Fresno lost. Oregon State lost.
Here's the thing. You just said Oregon
They're not
State.
getting to 7.
This
doesn't
is the thing.
matter.
I understand Oregon State. I'm sure we'll find a way to talk about them, but those teams are I think we had Washington State in the previous one. Those teams are just flip of a coin whether they're going to be really good or really bad.
They're not going to be worse than Air Force.
No, why is there a total at 7 then? Like that's I feel like everybody.
Their total's at 7 because they're giving them San Jose State, they're giving them Colorado State, and they're giving them New Mexico.
So they're giving them 3 wins, so they're doubling that. And then I'm on the under. I have no idea how these teams like this. Like this just seems like everybody just because the usual is Air Force comes out. Veteran coach and runs this system and it works every time, but you can't just plug in random people and expect it to work.
Yeah, I'm on the under too. Let's go to New Mexico, and this is one. Their win total's at 2. I don't think it's that bad, and by no means am I going to say it's good. But New Mexico head coach Danny Gonzalez was fired after 4 years with the team. He's with Arizona now as a linebacker coach. They bring in Bronco Mendenhall. So I actually messed up. Bronco Mendenhall is the guy from BYU, not the.
But his most recent stint was at Virginia.
Yeah. But when I was talking before the other guy. So Bronco Mendenhall comes out of retirement. So he hasn't been coaching since 2021. But before that, he was with Virginia for 6 years, and then he was with BYU before that. And the reason I'm mentioning BYU is because that's where he's brought his coordinators from. Jason Beck, he coached with him in BYU back in 2015. And the same goes for the defense coordinator, Nick Howell, was with them in BYU in 2015. So Bronco Mendenhall, 6 years with Virginia, 3 years of retirement, or it might have been 2 years of retirement.
Yeah.
And now he's back, and he brought back his BYU staff from 2015. 124th in returning production, 9 returning starters, just 3 on offense. 134th ranked recruiting class in 2024 isn't great. But here's the thing. I think Dampier's pretty good at quarterback. The quarterback's gone, but this kid, Devin Dampier, looks to be the starter this year. 525 yards, 6 touchdowns, no picks last year. He also averaged 5.6 yards per carry, rushed for 4 touchdowns. He's an athlete. Saw the field a lot last year, but I'm pretty sure he only started 1 game. And in the game he started, it was a crazy tough spot for a freshman. He's a sophomore this year. He was a freshman last year, and he looked pretty good. His start on the road in Boise State. So let's cut him a little bit of some slack here. His only start is on the road in Boise as a freshman. The running back, their RB1 is gone. He's on Arizona now, but their RB2 is back. Their RB2 averaged 6.7 yards per carry last season, so he was able to make plays. What concerns me for New Mexico is the offensive line. Because you can point at the wide receivers that they brought back their leading receiver. They also redshirted a kid. So the receivers should be okay too. It's all 5 starters from the offensive line are gone. Here's the thing. The offensive line wasn't really great last year. And they brought in 8 offensive linemen through the transfer portal. All 5 projected starters for New Mexico were not with the team last year. So that's like such a huge toss-up. Like, I don't know if we can necessarily say that's bad. I guess based on the fact that this win total's at 2, that everyone thinks that's going to be bad. But I like this quarterback, scrambling quarterback, and certainly take some pressure off the offensive line. I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, quarterback, I kind of tend to agree, but I think there's still such a huge question mark because you never know with a guy like this, with the new coaching staff, how he's actually going to perform now in full-time jobs. So that's still a huge question mark. I mean, this was a good offense last year, but I tend to believe 5 transfers coming in on the O-line, that as bad as they were, that's tough. It's tough to
hold on. So I got to keep saying I'm measuring next to 2 wins as the win total.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that I'm saying that that New Mexico's going to be good. I'm just comparing it to the fact that they have 2 wins projected, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. When it comes to this team, it was very similar to the who was it? Two teams ago, whoever we talked about. I'm in my head here about this, but Bronco Mendenhall,
Nevada.
Yeah. Taking over with a new coaching staff with a guy who's been at a place like he was at BYU, but Virginia. When he was at Virginia, like I think they pulled some upsets at that time when he was there, and it was shocking to a lot of people. If you're gonna say his win total, a guy that I think a lot of people would say is a good head coach, not a great one obviously, but he's done well where he's been, been decent. He's got to pull 1 upset to reach 2 wins.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So I agree with you there that it's crazy to have a win total at 2. You can go through this team and you can look at it, and they're probably gonna be a really bad team. Their defense was really bad last year, and they return a lot more on defense than they return on offense. That's not saying much. Their defense was god awful last year. They were worst. They were one of the worst in the country in every single statistic, whether it was run, pass, no matter what. The
D-line's gonna be improved though.
Yeah,
they bring back pretty much the whole D-line. They add a kid from USC.
Yeah, that's my point. They can be. I would hope they're going to be improved because what they put out last year was awful. So they're going to be improved, but forget all of that. Go through their team. Yeah, their roster probably sucks. They're probably one of the worst teams in the Mountain West. But you're telling me they can't pull up 1 upset? I don't know.
The reason, and part of the reason that they're at 2, is they don't have many easy home games. They're on the road a lot this year. Mm-hmm. They have 2, 4, 6, 7 road games. Their home games, they have Montana State. So the win total's at 2, and they're starting off 1-0, even though Montana State's a good FCS.
Montana State's
I don't care that they're underdog.
They're 9-point favorites.
It's 9 now?
9. That's it opened at 7.5. It's moved to 9. People are betting Montana State in that game, and I read up as much as I could on Montana State when I saw that line.
No, they're very good.
We're a good team. They were a good team, but they're not so you're telling me last year's national champion was, I think, North Dakota State.
Not a 9.
Imagine if Montana or North Dakota State went to New Mexico. Are you telling me that would be a 14?
It is 9.
Would that be a 14-point line or a 20-point line?
This line opened at 4.5, and I was like, "There's no way."
It was at 7.5 2 days before I looked at it, because I looked at the line history, and then it was at 9. So nobody expects this team to win that game, and that's the gimme on their schedule. So
what the hell is going on with that? There's
a couple of games in here where I look at they're not beating any of the teams after Montana State until maybe Utah State. I think they could beat Utah State. But we're going to talk about them tomorrow.
I think I'm going to take New Mexico plus 9, not because I know so much about New Mexico and Montana State, just out of principle.
Yeah.
An FBS team catching 9 points at home. That game is at home, right?
It's a home game. I looked at it up and down, and I said, there's no way an FCS team could be nearly 10-point favorite.
That's so crazy.
New Mexico, but that just shows the
expectation. All right, so I'm not going to bet over 2 wins here, but put over up for me. But based on the fact that they have Montana State as a 9-point favorite, means that the market hates New Mexico this year. And if they're not going to give them the home game against Montana State, means they kind of think they have a good chance of going 0-12.
What's the line that week 2 game against Arizona?
55? I don't know. Maybe Montana State's supposed to be the best FCS team of all time this year.
They're not. I looked at the preseason. They're 15th, I think, in the preseason.
That's crazy.
This isn't. So that's what I'm saying. If North Dakota State was coming into New Mexico, would that be a 20-point line?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not betting this over, and definitely not betting. I might bet New Mexico plus the points, but it will be more out of principle rather than a handicap. Just be there's no way.
I would lean over as well, just because betting a team to only win 1 or 2 games is.
The graphic says 2.5, but you can get 2s, by the way. All right. Everyone, thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Do a couple NFL teams, some more college, continue everything.